This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Today is going to be, or this is going to be Mailbag. Just me answering some questions. I get a lot of voicemails. I get a lot of emails, both questions and comments. And since I was sick for 10 days or so, a lot of well wishes, and I definitely appreciate that. But I think it's important. If we're building a community here, I think it's important to communicate, to move the conversation forward, not just through questions, but also through disagreement. I'm actually a little sad. I'm a little sad that I don't get as much pushback. I don't get as much anger. Occasionally, I get a voicemail that's somebody pissed off or somebody who's being a troll. But I welcome that. I am certainly not afraid of dissent. I encourage it, in fact, and wish I got a little more of it. So let's start with an email from Jarius. I am a college student who was brainwashed by right-wing propaganda. You were one of the main channels that broke me out of it and led me on the right path of voting for better policies since you exposed the corruption of the system. Also, I am a social work major and have hope and strength from watching you speak out and advocate for reasonable policies that would help humans in our society. You are one of my influential figures, and I enjoy your channel a lot, Jarius. Well, thank you, Jarius. I appreciate that very much, especially being someone who came out of, also, now it's been decades and decades, but out of right-wing brainwashing. Growing up in a far right-wing fundamentalist evangelical household, I understand the importance and the blessing, if you will, that it is to have escaped and to found the truth, found a better way, found empathy. I would encourage you in your journey of knowledge and truth, and pay it forward. I hope that I am in some way paying it forward to those who may be in a similar situation to what I was in as a child and as a young man. And apparently I've affected you, and I that makes me feel great. And I would charge the same thing to you, to pay it forward and try to change hearts and minds and better the society we live in. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Next, let's get to a voicemail.
Yes, Jesse, the comment on your opinion on whether Bloomberg should be looked upon as a presidential candidate, you certainly raised issues on your podcast about his search and frisk policy, which is deplorable. He has made attempts to apologize and say that it wasn't the right thing to do. And if there are other Democratic candidates vying for the presidency, then certainly that would be a strong thing maybe to disqualify him. But if in the unlikely event that it was between Trump and Bloomberg, if I were a betting man, I would say that Bloomberg has probably learned a lesson and matured based on what he did, and he would be a better choice than Trump, because if Trump gets in, not only is it going to be search and frisk, but all of us are going to lose a lot of rights that we should have, because he is basically dismantling the whole nation. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. I agree with a lot of that. I do have to push back a little bit about the statement that he apologized, that he's gone along, well, I don't know exactly how you phrased it, but that he's apologized for his stop and frisk policy. And I think we owe it to ourselves and to one another to really give some thought to putting it in perspective of when he apologized and why he apologized. Just like anybody else in our lives. If someone apologizes for something that they did, yet you feel as though there are ulterior motives behind the apology, that there are other motivations, whether it be just to get back in good graces or whatever, you have to analyze that. And my assessment of Mike Bloomberg is that he was vehemently defending the policy of stop and frisk, the unconstitutional policy of harassing people of color, detaining people of color, illegally searching people of color, up until he apologized. Only months before, he was standing up for the policy, defending the policy. So when he's a Republican, he enacts a very Republican policy of stop and frisk. And then when he decides he's going to run for president as a Democrat, then all of a sudden he's really free with the apologies. I think that's something to take into consideration. Now, as far as if he gets the nomination, one, I think that there is a very wildly slim chance that that will happen. If he were to, though, I think we would need to rally behind him and vote for him instead of Donald Trump. And for two words. The reason is two words. Supreme Court. Remember what it was like when Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch were being confirmed. The angst, the nervousness, the trepidation that everyone felt, knowing what was coming down the line relative to women's choice, religious liberty, all these issues that they're horrible on. You can count on that being the case for two more justices if Trump gets reelected. You think a 5-4 court is bad? Imagine a 7-2 court and the ramifications that will ripple out across generations if that's the case. And that is exactly what we're looking at. So is Bloomberg a racist and a POS? Yes. But is he going to put moderate or normal judges on the court relative to what Donald Trump will do? And I believe he would. I think he's terrible. I would have to hold my nose to vote for him. And I don't think it's going to happen, so it's moot. But it's something to consider. Anyway, thank you for the call. Next is, let's take this one about socialism.
Hi, Jesse. I wondered where you went. I don't have a computer or any of that stuff, so I just watch it on TV and YouTube. And God bless you, young man. I'm glad you're doing okay. And thank you for your service. I love Bernie, but I'm a little frightened because the stupid media, corporate media, can't seem to understand the difference between a social democrat and a socialist. What's worse is they try to conflate it with communism. I think they're intentionally stupid, but I'm at this point, I'm just holding my breath to tell you the truth. To get Donald Trump out of there, I would vote for a dead dog. God bless you, son. Have a good evening.
Vote for a dead dog. Or a Mike Bloomberg. Whichever. Thank you for the call. Listen, I completely agree. The problem that we face right now is that socialism has been maligned. The word has been co-opted, and the left has allowed the word to be completely maligned by the right. Socialism is Social Security. It's socialism. Free high school and secondary education is socialism. Nobody has a problem with those things. But we've allowed the Sean Hannitys of the world and the Rush Limbaughs of the world and the dipshit Donald Trumps of the world use it as a naughty word. And rather than say, yeah, socialism, we recoil and we hide rather than just defend it, face on. There's nothing wrong with some socialism mixed into our politics, the way we run things. So why hide from it? And as far as conflating communism, social, that's absurd. One's a governmental system, one's an economic system. They're completely different things. So people are stupid, and the media is. I think you're right. I think that they are complicit in a lot of ways. So, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Let's move on.
Yes, this is Bill from Pennsylvania. Jesse, I believe that if Bernie Sanders does get nominated for the presidency, I believe that it's going to turn into another 2016 election. And I believe if Joe Biden gets the same, that the Bernie supporters are just going to stay home. And it's going to turn into another shitstorm, just like it did in 2016, with this guy still in the White House. And we cannot, and I mean we cannot have that. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Yeah, I think there is some concern about a repeat of 2016, but I don't think it's if Bernie gets the nomination. I think that, well, one, let's go back to what the previous caller said about the socialism thing. The attacks that are going to be used by the right, for instance, about socialism, calling Bernie Sanders a socialist, they're going to use those exact same attacks if Joe Biden gets the nomination. I think either one of those individual men has an equal chance of beating Donald Trump. I'm supporting Bernie Sanders, his candidacy, and I think that Joe Biden, while he's not my candidate, and I think he's gaffe prone, I think he'll fare very well against Donald Trump. I think he might even siphon off some vote of people who are tired of Trump's BS. But I don't fear a stay home from the polls kind of a scenario where Bernie's supporters don't vote for Joe Biden if he is indeed the nominee, because of the fact that I think everyone is very well aware of exactly what's at stake with Donald Trump and another 4 years, Supreme Court being one, but also just the general authoritarian track that we are on as a nation. And I think people are going to check their privileges, their individual privileges relative to the things that don't necessarily affect them, and do the right thing and vote Donald Trump out. Whether it be Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders or Mike Bloomberg or the dead dog, like the previous caller. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate the call. Next up, Jeff in Michigan.
Hi, Jesse. I love your show. I love you. You're like super intelligent. Well, anyway, I saw your thing about voting for Bernie Sanders. What people don't understand is a couple of things about, health care for all. Everybody should have that. But they want to go after Medicare, but there's also Medicaid. I live in Detroit, Michigan. My name is Jeff from Detroit, Michigan. Now, there's Medicaid. Medicaid is funded by mainly the state, and they actually cover more than Medicare. And they're not pointing that out. And as far as college for all, why don't they focus on giving the younger people a good education from elementary through high school? Give them a good, sound education, because just because you have a college degree doesn't mean that you're going to get a job. So that's the point. And I still watch the show. I tell everybody about you. And thanks a lot. But I'm Jeff from Michigan. But Bernie Sanders, he's pie in the sky. Remember, you have to have the House and the Senate to get anything done. No politician can get, a president can get everything that they want unless they have the House and the Senate and they actually work with them like crazy Trump people do. But thanks a lot, and I love your show. All right, bye-bye.
Well, thanks, Jeff. First, about Medicaid. Medicaid is a different program than Medicare. Medicaid is an income-based, a need-based program, where Medicare is you opt in based on your age. So that's why Medicaid covers a lot more, because it's people who are below a certain level of income. I don't know exactly what the metric is relative to their station near or above or below the poverty line, but that's what it has to do with. That's why it covers so much more. As far as the Senate and the House is concerned, absolutely. Yeah, it is something that we need to take into account. However, I don't believe, as you said, that Bernie Sanders is pie in the sky. If Bernie is to win the nomination and then to win the presidency, he will have a mandate from the people going into an administration, being able to say, listen, I won an overwhelming majority of the vote to win the presidency. The people have spoken. They agree with my agenda. And then it will be beholden upon Congress. We have the House now, and it's not unreasonable to assume that we'll win the Senate this election. So it would be in their best interest politically to cooperate with the president to get his or her agenda through. As far as, I forgot the other part of the thing, the education thing. I believe what we need to do with education is have a full width and breadth covered, not just college, but also job training. Look, college isn't for everybody. There's a lot of people out there who they have an aptitude, a skill set that lends itself toward mechanics or whatever other trade. And I think we need to be open and honest and reasonable about funding job training in trades for people who aren't interested in going to college, because that's not their skill set. So that should be part of it too. Absolutely. Free job training, free trade schools, for sure. Because the ultimate goal should be to be placed, to have your best option, your best shot at getting a job. So let's finish. Thank you very much. I appreciate the call. Let's finish with an email from Deborah in Connecticut. Welcome back, Jesse. I am glad you are on the mend. I have been watching you on YouTube for a while and became a channel member last week. Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate that. I have learned a lot from your videos. I am 65 and not very good at using computers and other devices. Count me in. I am that same way, Deborah. YouTube is the only social media I use. Facebook and others really piss me off with their complicity in getting Trump elected. I have also been a Warren supporter since day one. I am very distressed that her campaign lost its momentum. I have been resistant to support Bernie, mostly because of age and health concerns. I would really like a president who is not an old white guy. Warren has been such a fighter of corruption and an advocate for consumers, and I really think it's time for a woman to come in and clean up the messes white men have been making. No offense intended to you personally. No offense taken. For the same reason you described, I will probably switch my support to Bernie. It will be with a heavy heart that I abandon Senator Warren. On the night of the 2016 election, I cried. I was skeptical and disappointed at the time, but now I am just terrified. I expected things to be bad, but this administration has gone so far past what I thought could be done to destroy us that I am simply left speechless on a daily basis. So, welcome back, and thank you for providing truth and hope to those of us who are scared. Sincerely, Deborah C., Connecticut. Two things, Deborah, that I want to talk to you about. Three things. Thank you very much for being a channel member. That is tremendous. Two, I also am tired of old white guys being president. Now, as far as Bernie's age, and that's the main thing, because that's also the thing I've criticized, is his age and his health. And I think there's valid reasons to have questions about that. I mean, after all, we're electing a president of the United States. Everyone in the race, including Elizabeth Warren, and I'm not counting Tulsi Gabbard because, she's not a viable option. Everyone's 70 years old or older. It was a big deal when Ronald Reagan was elected president and he was 68 or 69 when he took office. That was a bit like, oh my God, he's so old. Joe Biden's 78. Bernie Sanders, he's like 78. Bloomberg is like 78. But that's what it is. Elizabeth Warren's 70 years old. So this cycle, that's what we got. A bunch of old people. A bunch of old white people. We could do better next time. I am disappointed that Elizabeth Warren didn't do better. But let me tell you, trying to stifle a cough here. But let me tell you, there will be a place for her in the next administration. I can almost guarantee that. Whether it be Treasury Secretary or something to do with consumer affairs, she is a dynamo. She knows the financial system better than just about anybody on Capitol Hill. And it would be fantastic to have her in there. There was one other thing. It's with a heavy heart that you'll be abandoning Senator Warren. Listen, even Elizabeth Warren has said that it doesn't matter if she gets elected if her ideas are put in place. And that is the reason, it was that statement that really led me, I was in thoughtful contemplation about switching from Elizabeth Warren to Bernie Sanders. And it is because of that I did vote for Bernie Sanders. Because just about everything that she proposes is on Bernie's slate. And as long as he is viable and he can get elected and he is going to put forward her ideas, you don't have to feel bad about it. Just because she's not actually physically president, if her ideas are being put into place, that is ultimately what matters for you, or it should be for you, but also for the country, for everybody else who's going to be affected by those policies. So thank you for the email. Thank you so much for being a channel member. That is awesome. For everybody else, thank you very much. I do obviously take voicemails and emails, 714-576-4054. You can also email. I'm going to have to get a new email address since I'm renaming this. It's not One More Thing anymore, but One More Thing at Dollemore.com. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.